A huge win for Leeds and Sheffield United means that the gap at the top could be growing with the top two running clear, whereas at the bottom, the pack's only tightening up. So starting off our roundup of championship results with round 30, we start on Friday night at Blackburn as they beat rivals Preston by 2-1. A result I didn't predict, and it goes against the recent form of both sides as well, but Blackburn with their first win in 4 puts them right up to 5th again. It's insane how inconsistent the playoff pack really are. You can lose 3 games in a row, and then with 1 victory, you're up to 5th again. It just shows how inconsistent and wide open this scrap for 5th and 6th really has become. But were Blackburn lucky to get out of here with all 3 points? Well, possibly, as Preston was denied a potential late penalty, which would have gave them the chance to equalise with 2 stoppage time goals. So maybe Blackburn got away with 1 there, but it puts them back into a good position despite recent form not being great. Preston's first defeat in 5. They need to just make sure that this does not prolong into anything worse. Oxford 1, Bristol City 1. You would say on paper it's a better point for Oxford, but in the context of the game, they'll be disappointed they didn't actually win this game. They did take the lead. They were pegged back by Bristol City, who at that time were down to 10 men after a sending off just after the half hour. And then to make life even harder for Bristol City, they were down to 9 men in the 86th minute with McCrory getting sent off as well. So Oxford, who had more of the momentum, created more of the chances, had more of the shots, just weren't able to find that winning goal despite Bristol City having 2 men disadvantage. So I think overall Oxford may be disappointed, but in hindsight, 9 games now unbeaten under Gary Rowett with 5 wins and 4 draws. It's still a fantastic point against a team who were chasing playoffs, and it's a bit of a bump in the road for Bristol City. It will be a game they would have expected 3 points from. They might feel like they've missed a trick with this one, but against coming away with a point after losing 2 players, that's always going to be a positive. Plymouth 2, West Brom 1. One of the shocks of the weekend, you've got to say, Plymouth getting their first win in 17 games. An unbelievably huge win for them, and it maybe gives them a glimmer of hope. Obviously backed up the point at Sunderland, which was a huge point, and you sort of say, well, it's only a big point if they follow it up. And wow, they did just that. Coming from behind as well in the second half, a great way to win against a very, very tough side. Tony Mowbray's West Brom team, I think, are going to be right up there this season in the playoff fight. So it's a bit of a damaging defeat for them, and maybe a reminder that there's still work to do there for Mowbray at the Hawthorns. But it's a priceless win for Plymouth, and maybe, just maybe, there is a glimmer of hope that they might still be in with a chance of staying up. Watford 0, Norwich 1. Watford's woes continue. 5 defeats in 8 for the Hornets, and well, it feels like a long time ago now since they were imperious and unbeatable at the Vic. They've now gone 4 home games in a row without win. I don't know if they've actually lost the last 4 in a row at home. The form has really, really flipped, and I mean, they're still in the playoff pack. They're lucky in a sense that teams above them haven't exactly pulled away, but they're getting dragged right into the mix of it. And once again, Norwich have took advantage of a playoff rival and have pulled themselves right back into the playoff pack when a few weeks ago it looked like they might have been too far adrift. It's only Norwich's 2nd away win in their last 12, but a giant win and a big positive to see Josh Sargent on the score sheet for them. Watford, of course, having a man sent off in the first half didn't help either. So there's so many teams in the playoffs. Some are in form, some are out of form, some are falling like a stone. It's going to be really interesting to see how it turns in the next few weeks. Derby 0, Sheffield United 1. A big victory for Sheffield United, bouncing back from that really tough home defeat against Hull City. And it's the sort of game they had to win. One of them where you just don't want to follow it up with another really, really poor result against another team down the bottom. It was vital for their automatic promotion hopes that they got themselves the victory here. And they did it. Was it pretty? No. Was it convincing? Probably not. But the best teams find a way, and these are the games that I think come the end of the season could matter the most for both teams in a sense. So it's huge for Sheffield United to get back to winning ways and not lose any more ground to the likes of Leeds, who we'll get to in a moment. But Derby, it wasn't so bad here from what I could gather. They were competitive enough, but they've not won since Boxing Day. In fact, they've lost every single game in League and Cup since Boxing Day, losing their last 7 league games. They are desperate for their form to turn around because right now they're looking like one of the favourites to get relegated. Hull 1, Stoke 2, a big comeback win for Stoke here. They've had a tough start under Mark Robins, still finding his feet there, you could say. Their first win in 6 games, so it's a big one. And Hull's home form just doesn't seem to be getting going under Ruben Sellés. They've not won any of the last 4 home games. They've had a lot more of their joy away from home, and that's something that's going to have to change if they are to just ensure that they stay up this season. I've still got more confidence that they will, but I don't think they can just rely on picking up points on the road to do that. They've got to be making the MKM a bit more of a fortress, and to take the lead and then lose 2-1 in the manner that they did, it's a big blow against a team who were right down there with them, there or thereabouts. So a damaging defeat to Hull, but a big one for Mark Robins and Stoke. Let's see if they can build on it. Leeds 7. Cardiff 0. Wow. I mean, I said in my prediction video, that I thought Leeds would win this comfortably, but I said I'd give Cardiff a bit more respect and not go in too hard, and I only went with 3-0 Leeds. Wow, was I wrong. 7 goals to 0. Crazy, dominant, ruthless, relentless. I mean, I've said all season, for me, Leeds are the best team in the league, and I've said all season, if there was one team who could run away with it when they click into top gear, it's Leeds. And this, for the first time this season, as great as they've been, this is them in top gear. And, I mean, this was a Cardiff side. Let's not forget, this was their first defeat in 8. They weren't in bad form. You know, not too long ago, they came up here to Boro and played relatively well and got a point. They went to Leeds and got absolutely destroyed. Leeds' XG was 5.7. They had 7 big chances and 29 shots to Cardiff's 2. It was probably the most one-sided game you'll see in the Championship this season. 7 goals to 0 for Leeds. Their ridiculous home form continues. They've won 13 of their 16 home games this season, scoring 42 goals at Ellen Road. I would be astounded if this team did not get themselves automatically promoted. And right now, and we'll look at the table at the end, depending on what happens tonight, when you're watching this, when Sunderland come up here to Boro, the gap to third could have grown massively. This could be a huge statement of intent for Leeds and a big result too with the automatic promotion hunt. But yeah, this was a ridiculous victory. Leeds at their best. Cardiff have not been in bad form whatsoever, so they need to just brush this one off. They won't be the first team to lose at Ellen Road by a margin this season, and they won't be the last either. Millwall 2, QPR 1, a big win for Millwall. I did say in my predictions I expected Millwall to win here. Don't know why. I thought it would be only by 1-0, but they did have to come back from a really early equaliser from QPR. 2 goals in the opening 3 minutes in this game. It was quite a wild start to this one. Connolly scoring in the first, Lloyd scoring in the third. Millwall went back ahead just before the half hour and then stayed ahead, and it proved to be a pretty big result for them. It looked like a fairly competitive game. Maybe QPR actually, compared to a lot of times I've seen them on the road this season, were the more creative of the two sides, but Millwall have now won 3 in a row, a little bit like the form earlier in the season we saw from Millwall. Are they starting to maybe get going again? We'll have to wait and see, but it's a good win for them against a QPR side whose great run has come to a little bit of a halt. I know there was a lot of excitement around them getting on the back of the playoff pack and all this and that, but I think this shows they're still a little bit far off of that, and maybe their purple patch has come to an end. We'll have to wait and see. Pompey 0, Burnley 0. What a shock. Boring Burnley get another 0-0. Their 5th 0-0 in their last 7 league games. Now, I'm sorry. I appreciate their defence is a joke. I appreciate that they've only got, 9 goals conceded this season. It's ridiculous. 8 clean sheets in a row in the league. It's a joke. It's a joke, right? But my word, how do Burnley fans cope? How would I bite your hand off to see Boro where Burnley are? Yes, of course I would. I'd love to be in third right now, so I'm not going to knock the results because it's a results-based business. But my God, I've never seen a team get themselves into a potential automatic spot or charge for playoffs or promotion in this much of a boring fashion. I mean, it must be torture for the Burnley fans. I think that's their 10th 0-0 of the season. it must be excruciating. And you can only hope it's going to be worth something at the end, because I think a few Burnley fans are starting to lose a little bit of patience and look at Leeds and Sheffield United and think, okay, clean sheets are good, but these 0-0s aren't getting the job done. And that's a fair argument. They're not going to get the job done. They won't get promoted if they keep drawing 0-0 most weeks. So, although it's a good point at Pompey, they've been very good at home over the last month or so, it's still another 0-0 that means 2 drop points for Burnley against a team towards the bottom end of the Championship. So, defensively great, but not much else to say in terms of positives. It's probably more of a positive result for Pompey in the end, who, by the XG, created more, had more shots, as many big chances, and held their own here as they continue to at home. So, a good point for them against a automatic promotion chaser. But I am starting to wonder if Burnley are just slipping away slightly with this ridiculous number of 0-0 draws. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Luton Town 1. You've got to say this is a disappointing result for Sheffield Wednesday. They were the better side. They created more over the course of the game. But they had to come from behind here after a very good opener from Alfie Doherty. And, well, they've drew against the joint worst, or who were the joint worst, away side in the Championship. This is only Luton's 5th point on the road this season, so I think any home side who drops points to Luton at the moment would have to feel like they've dropped points, and it's not a great result, and I think Sheffield Wednesday fall into that pack, but I'm not that surprised. They've been so up and down all season, win, draw, win, loss. They just can't string a run together, and that's why they're not quite right in the top end of the playoff pack and chase as they maybe could be. But then equally, as I said, the pack of teams challenging for playoffs are so inconsistent, Sheffield Wednesday still find themselves not too far away, so they might just take their medicine and take the point from here. It's a good point for Luton on the road, I guess. It all depends on if they can build on it, because every time we've thought Luton were going to build on a result this season, they've returned back to being poor again, so we'll have to wait and see if they can build anything from here. And finally, Swansea 0, Coventry 2. This was the only result I got bang on, score and result this weekend. Swansea are struggling, aren't they? They've lost 5 of the last 6, conceding 17 goals. I don't know what's going on down at the Swansea.com stadium, but they looked like a team who could really make a late push for it not too long ago. But now they're just falling away massively. And maybe, just maybe, Swansea have to start looking over their shoulders a little bit as well. Still 7 points off the drop, but they're a lot further from the drop than they are the playoffs at this moment in time. So another disappointing result for them. But Coventry, well, as a Boro fan, I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie to you. 4 wins in a row for them, and as we always expect them to do every single season, it has helped. Again, it's a running theme of this video that the playoff pack are so inconsistent, but one good run, and I've said this for weeks, all it takes is a good run and you'll propel yourself into the playoffs. And suddenly Coventry are only 3 points off. They are right in the mix of this playoff fight. They're the most informed team of the lot. And for a Boro fan who hates playing Coventry and never beats them, it's not very nice seeing them coming up in our rearview mirror. So a look at the league table then. Obviously, we will leave the Boro-Sunderland game until tomorrow because I'll review that in depth in my Project Boro video, but it's a big win at the top for Leeds. Their gap to Burnley now, which is the most important gap. I know Leeds will want to win the title, of course, but top 2 is the priority. A 5-point gap has opened up now, which is a big, significant gap, you could say. And then there's now pressure on Sunderland going to the Riverside tonight as you're watching this, because the gap to second could be 6. The gap to the top could be 8. So Leeds pulling away with a monstrous goal difference as well. A big win for Sheffield United as well, as I mentioned. Below Sunderland, as I say, the playoff pack, it's ridiculous. Look at all the L's in Blackburn's column or row, and they're still 5th. It's honestly ridiculous how inconsistent this pack of teams is. It is who's going to be the best of quite a poor pack of teams, or inconsistent pack of teams. West Brom is 6th. It knocks Boro out the playoffs, so pressure on the game against Sunderland tonight. A win will take Boro up to 5th again. We'll have to wait and see how that one goes. We could be 2 points clear of 5th with a win, so it's a very, very big game for Boro. And then you're looking at that, there's 3 points separating 6th from 12th. It's absolutely crazy. But in terms of form, Norwich and Coventry are the 2 I would look at and say are coming quite quickly. Bristol City and Sheffield are sort of hanging around. Watford needs to be careful that they don't fall too far back. And then heading towards the bottom of the league, it's tightened up somewhat. Plymouth still have a bit of work to do, but it's better than being 7 points adrift. You could say Hull couldn't quite take advantage and open up an even bigger gap, with Pompey just above them. A 3-point gap there to Derby, who are in the drop zone. Luton level on points with them. The worry for Luton, I would say, is their goal difference. That could prove costly come the end of the season. But let me know your thoughts on your team in the comment section below. As I say, I'll be back tomorrow to review whatever happens at the Riverside in depth when Boro play Sunderland in the Teesweir Derby. As a Boro fan, praying for a victory in that one. And I don't know when I'll be back for the next round of Championship games, because next weekend there isn't a full round with some teams still playing in the Cup. So I don't know what quite to do next weekend, but I definitely will be doing one for the midweek round of games, as there's a full round of Championship games middle of next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we might be back to do them instead. But until then, do take care, guys, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.